Here we are, Saturday afternoon. Nice day outside. A little warm. A little bit warm, but pretty nice day. And yeah, I'm down here. Got an aftermarket 372 crankcase. Ah, that's the one thing I forgot to get out in the shed. This piece. Anyway, um, this is an aftermarket crankcase. It is actually magnesium. And the nice thing about these is that, well, they're pretty nice. But there's quite a few little things that really would be good to do to it. Apparently my little guy's going to fit something. You go close to her. Hang on a second. Okay, so yeah, so there's a number of things that would be really good to do to it to actually make it so that it's nice. Now, can you use it as it sits? Yes, but I wouldn't. So let's go through all of it just to see why I would recommend changing out a bunch of stuff. Okay, so the most important thing, I think, are the bearings and seals, which I'm going to change out, but I think I'm going to do that last. So let's hit the other obvious stuff. The first possibly non-obvious thing is actually the impulse nipple. And while we're talking about that, let's bring you up here on my other phone. That way I can see your comments. I don't know who's going to be on today, but maybe somebody, maybe nobody. 6 people here already. Okay, cool. 6 people here already. Okay, cool. Yeah, the case usually even if I order free shipping from HL Supply, it's usually in a couple of days. So I actually have 372 the stuff to do today, and I have a little bit of 660 stuff to do. So we'll fiddle around with that in a minute. Anyway, I think it's important to do this kind of step by step so that we don't miss anything. If anybody has any questions or comments, throw them out there. You know. I buried myself again here. This is the problem with ordering parts and doing multiple projects, is that you end up burying yourself with parts. Okay. Actually, I say don't throw out the crankcase. The old. Actually, this doesn't really help us at all. Oh, that's something else. Something else that I need. I need a new intake boot. So, you just can't see it. The hole for the impulse nipple is right here, but the actual hole through the boot is somewhere over this side. Oh, and this comes with a green gasket. I throw these away, like, instantly. Hey, Georgie. So the thing is, the hole is off to the side, which is why on the 372s they actually have a nipple that's offset here, and I have to find that. These crankcases do not come with case bolts, so you do have to actually add case bolts. Okay. So this, hey Jay, this actually goes down in here. I want to see if maybe I can just hit this with the pliers and pull it right out. Should just be pressed in. Let's see. Well, that's not easy. All right, next step, hit it with the heat. If I need to, I'll drill it out because I really don't like this thing going that direction. It tends to kink. So yeah, if need be, I'll drill it out and we'll put this in with JB Weld, which I've done before. This is intended to be a saw for me. This was intended to be a saw for me. This is still intended to be a saw for me. So, yeah, if that makes any difference. Heat. What do I need for heat? Need a torch. Where's my torch? Lord knows where my torch went. Exactly in the right place it's supposed to be. Yeah, JB Weld works fine. Let's see if we can pop this out, though. If I can heat it up from the underside, maybe. There it goes. Haha! And let's see if this just taps in. It might. Just taps in. Hey, Larry. Are we buffering? Are we good? Hey, Leonard. So, let's see what we use here to tap this in. That's in. Beautiful. Have I ever repaired the electronic? No, I have not. That torch has been brilliant for me. Perfect. Yeah, map gas. I love the map gas torch. It's really been amazing. It does loosen up in certain places, but the electronic element has never gone bad. I've done 500 copper solder joints with the thing, so overall very happy with it. I'm gonna take and throw this brass nipple out because it's bent anyway. Okay, so that's first thing to do. Another thing to do on here is The darn studs. You actually need to put studs in. You might as well do it now. If you forget, and it's harder later, that's all. So you just tap them in, basically, but you need something to tap them in with. Be nice to have an air hammer. Yep, done. Oh well. I do actually have one, but whatever, doesn't matter. A lot easier to put like a block of wood in between here or something. Do I have a block of wood for that? No. Yes. Better. They should go in a little easier than that. I'm thinking this is not going to work. Well, this might work. What else can hold this up? Buttering it. Battery, maybe. There we go. That's it. Yeah, so I don't remember whether these came with studs or not, but these don't have studs. This one doesn't have studs with it. So there's another way to get these through. You have to prevent it from rotating, but the other way is with washers. So let's try that too, just to fiddle around with it. While we are fiddling around with things, let's put that down for a moment. Oh, too much junk here. So if it ain't through, we'll be in a second. Oh, cool tool. So this is a 372, and I guess it's a tool to take off the springs on the handle on the gas tanks. I think it's very crudely designed, but I guess it'll work. They're not expensive. I got it from HL Supply. My YouTube stream has gone off here. Let's bring it back up. Okay, let's go back. Larry stopped by. Hayes stopped by my house around 1 o'clock. Said he was going to try today. I don't know what that means, Larry. Are you talking to somebody else? Craig's here. Good. And Doug Swainer stopped by. That's wonderful. Hey, Doug. This is not an OEM case. This is an aftermarket set of crankcases. With this available, I don't much see the point in buying OEM cases. I mean, there's nothing wrong with OEM cases, but, you know, do you really need OEM? Not necessarily. Did that go all the way? We are down. So now your studs are installed. That is easy. Yeah, I just wanted to go over basically the weirdness of these, because they are at least a little bit different. They're a little funky to do, but there's really nothing wrong with them either. It's just there's a little bit of weirdness. So mainly the nipple that needs to be off center. You need to replace this with stock. And I pull the bearings and seals out of here for sure. I also use a highway seal kit. So rather than using the OEM seal kit, I use a highway kit. So let's do a couple of the other things to do first here. So let's see. So those are those two things. I think that's good. The positioning pins on these are indeed different, so you do have to pay attention to that. It's not gonna, you cannot interchange one for the other. It said cross on the bag, but and it says Italy on the box. I'm not convinced these are Italian cases. So these little rubber bumpers, they're easiest to do if you just buy new. It goes right in the hole here. And then you grab that tab. Stuff here. Different set of pliers. You grab the tab and gently work it up. So this tab you grab and you pull on and you work it round. Theoretically, it should go through. There. You got it. Yep. And then you can just take and nip off the tab. And you want the bumper in, facing in. Just take a nipper, nip off the tab. We're done. Okay. Next, the other thing on here. The other thing that was not, you guys can actually see me tear apart the saw that's going back together. I did send the cylinder head out for checking down to Rattler, who is in Carolina somewhere, South Carolina, I think. So Mike has that. He's just going to check the head for true for me, and then we can put this thing back together fully. But let's see if we can get the crankcase together today. If we can, we'll be in good shape. There was no stickers on here, in case you're wondering. I didn't see a sticker on the case. It doesn't have any obvious markings, at least not on this side. Now, this bump needs a rubber piece on here, and you can use the OEM, or you can use, this is basically a piece of like silicone tube or whatever, but at least there's a bumper on there. On the box. You want the box? Fine. You want the box. The box. Okay. It's the one you get at HL Supply. It's basically the same one that comes with the Chinese kit, as far as I know. Where'd the box go? It's right here. It says Polaris. Do you believe it's Polaris? It says Italy. It says made in Italy. It just says Italy, actually. And then here, so this looks like possibly HL Supply sticker, says made in China. It says Italy, it says the North Star. I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe the whole made in Italy thing. But it doesn't matter. You know, for what we're doing, it doesn't matter. So I've got the rubber part here, the rubber part here. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I'd say let's get this cleaned up and get the bearings out and the new bearings and seals in. Right? China, Italy, yes. So all that should be pretty straightforward. So let's, well, this one's already on the bench, so let's do this one first. I just don't trust these seals, you know? I just don't trust them. The bearings, if you're gentle enough by tapping these out, you can potentially reuse them for something, but I'm not super psyched to use them in a chainsaw, if you know what I mean. Let's get something to tap that out with. I think one of my saws did use them, but I forget which one. It hasn't been a problem with them, but... I just want to kind of go over all this stuff because I think this is all important to getting a really nice running, reasonably reliable saw, you know. So I'm hitting this with the heat. You don't have to use heat. You can pull this out cold. Up to you. I've done it both ways. I've showed it done both ways. This is about 200 degrees, not quite hot enough. You can check the heat. 250, or just a tad hotter. plastic down because it'll melt. Paper towel down right here. Well, then there's that. Sometimes they just fall out. And if we're getting that lucky, might as well get this one to fall in. Yeah, there are some parts that I really like OEM. I really do, but I just not convinced that you need to have an OEM crankcase. And these are very inexpensive, and they're just clean, you know? And there's nothing wrong with tearing some bearings out and putting some new ones in. So let's see if this falls in. It might. If it does, great. If it doesn't, oh well. It's pretty clean looking. There's no pieces in there. I just take my finger. Now you're fully seated. And this is a Natchez. So I leave the grease in there. I don't worry about trying to tear the grease out. Some people do. But there's that side. Based on that, let's see how this one goes. I may not need to take those off. I need to tap anything out. Let's open this other bearing. Things like main bearings, I really want them to be nice, you know. All of these saws are hopped up, and when you're expecting a little more of something, you want your parts to be robust, you know. That only makes sense. And it could certainly be argued, I think it's been argued plenty of times before, that these bearings are possibly a little undersized for this particular saw. So when you have undersized main bearings, nothing wrong with having the best of the best of that kind. Nikki, have you broken anything lately? Sorry, I couldn't help it, guys. Actually, speaking that I share my failures with you, and I have plenty of them. Sometimes it taps out, and sometimes it don't. Let's see if we get lucky. Get this thing to go right in. Yes. Check that out. So far, so good. I haven't ruined anything here, Nikki. You're right. Happy that I haven't ruined anything. But you never know. The day is still young. So sometimes you get lucky like that. It's probably hot, and it is. Okay. OEM bearings on these, they on the original one I think was metal. On the X-Torx I think they're plastic cage, or nylon rather. What was I gonna do here? So this edge is degreased here. Now you can go after that, you know, and do this and that to it, but I don't think you need to. You know, you can hit it with your Scotch-Brite or put it on a block and sand it flat and all that stuff. I'm not going to worry. Remember that K760? My buddy puts it down to carb kit needed. Any opinions? It dies under load. Yeah, it might not just be getting fuel, but it could be impulse line. Could be carb kit. Could be, you know, doesn't have juice. It needs a new coil. What's the compression on it? Sometimes I just throw a new carburetor, like a brand new carburetor, at the whole thing and see what happens. It's fairly rare that I get carb kits to actually help. You know? As pain in the neck as that is, it's rare that I get carburetor kits to actually help. So this is the crank. Make sure it's quite clean. Could be the needle sticking open. Doesn't get to full RPM, doesn't lean out. Hard to diagnose something from like 3,000 miles away, Nikki. Yeah, Craig, large sleeve only on this one. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it. I just got carried away with myself. Actually, you could use the small one because it's a 6202 bearing. Okay, M14. By 1.25. Rod goes on. Doesn't have to be all the way down. Back it off a shade. Sleeve goes on. If anybody wants a set of these tools, they can email me. I can put my email in the thing here in a minute. So this is a handle that gets screwed on down and then backed off by half a turn or so. Stick a washer on it. Need a 3/4 washer. That's 5/8. That'll work. And the nut. And the 372s are pretty nice because you don't have to center the crank or anything. It just is correct, basically, if you do it this way with the PTO side first. You just crank it down. And once you do it this way, you're never going to go back to the hot and cold stuff. Just, I'm never going to go back. That's it. Done. This is just a ratchet with a deep socket, 1.1/8", which goes on the 3/4 inch nut. No rocket science here. Fuller box, your sound had disappeared, replaced with static. Are we okay, guys? Can anybody else hear me? Is the sound okay? We're all right? Okay. Good. Okay. Oh, great. It's my buddy Dave. Hey. Hey, where are you? Dave? I'm in the basement. I'm in the basement live on YouTube. What are you doing? Oh, enjoy the boat. Okay, sounds good. Bye. Are we back? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Um, okay. So that's also the nice thing about the tools is that as you're doing things, if you need to pause or something like that, pause. It's not a problem. There's no, oh crap, I got to get something out of the oven, and oh, I got to freeze something. Oh, I lost my temperature differential. None of that. There's none of that. You can do everything at your own pace with the tools, and it's completely safe for the bearings. Nikki, it's probably not the tune. It's probably just get a new carburetor and see what happens. And it sucks to have to do that, but I found that to be the case most of the time. And I've had to have other guys tell me like that. I remember for that 181 that I was working on, I called Bob and I called Spike 60 up, and I'm like, what did I do? He's like you wouldn't believe how many ills a new carburetor solves. And sure, because I had kitted it twice. It's a pain. Let's just get these positioning pins out, and then I clean it. So that case half is good. And now this case half is going to get cleaned. And procedurally, I like to goop up. Boneyard, welcome. All carburetors get plugged and gummed, EPA or not. I don't even care about that stuff. Boneyard, you just missed me putting the crank in the clutch side of this case half. All right, let's goop this up. It's okay. I've done this about 1,000,000 times before on YouTube, so you're welcome to go check out the rest of my builds, which you can certainly see me doing the same thing. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to 1184 this, and I'm going to do this to the flywheel side. I'm 1184ing the flywheel side first. This is a procedural thing for timing because I want the flywheel side to tack up more than the clutch side. Do you have to adhere to this? No, of course not, but If you're doing a used crankcase, you want to obviously get all the previous gasket material off, but not only that, I like to shine this up down to bare metal, and there's a number of ways to do that. Sean Carr, I'll give him credit for this, will certainly recommend that you get a granite block and some sandpaper and go up to like 400 grit, and that way this is all, level. You're all flush, true, plumb, level. You get the idea. That way it's super flat, and then it seals the best. These crankcases are new. They're not OEM, but they are new. I'm just not worried about it. And you don't necessarily need to use the gray stuff. You can just go with a gasket, and usually you're fine. I like to use the gray stuff. I'm most worried about this corner right here. Okay. We're going to set this aside for just half a second. There. And bring over the clutch side, which now has the crank in it. You can do this before you put the crank in. If you do and you're moving stuff around, sometimes things get in the way and whatever. The other thing I just forgot was the blue Loctite, but it doesn't matter. I can put that directly on the bolts and it'll be fine. Sometimes I put blue Loctite right in these holes. Sometimes I put them directly on the screws. Stuff. I don't know. Try a new carb. They're expensive probably, but if you don't have a run and saw, you don't have a run and saw. It doesn't matter why. The saw ain't running right. You know what I mean? And this moves around. All you gotta do is move it around, and you don't goop up the crank itself. Again, these areas were degreased first. You really don't need lots. You just need to make sure that the metal is no longer shiny. I'd rather have a run than one, yeah. Okay, again, a procedural thing. I do the flywheel side goop up first, and that's because as I've gotten the time to do this, now I can go back to this one, and this is kind of tacked up a little bit. I can look at it and see if there's any voids or gaps or whatever. It's fine. Very important to put the solid positioning pin here and the one with the hole in it up here, because a case bolt actually goes through that. Now, I don't think on the OEM ones they are different size positioning pins. I don't usually see a solid one down here, but you still have to look for it. I think some do have solid positioning pins in that spot. The nice thing about the Highway seal kit is it comes with not just the gaskets, but also the seals. And I would much rather trust this than than the Chinese seals. I just not really loving the Chinese seals. Okay, so this, like I said, this side has now tacked up more. Oh, hang on. Right. What a pain. Be ready for anything. So I'm going to use my punch here. I've got a hole punch. Now I'm going to use in school. So that this is tacked, this is going to hold now, right? Shouldn't come off of there. One other quick thing before we do that. Just want to make sure that my sealing surface here is degreased. Good. Now, we are ready to go and put the case halves together. After all that, get your M8, small rod. You can actually use a small sleeve on this too, but sometimes things go sideways. Remember, Nikki? Time to get out the Nicholson files. Hang on. a thread that gets slightly messed up when you pull this off. When you pull the flywheel, rather. Really get. Let's just see how this goes. See if I can get this to go. Not good if you use a die during assembly. No kidding. Yeah, that'll go. It'll go. All right, we're good. It'll go. I just needed to get a little touchy. Okay. I know. It's supposed to check it first, right? All right. Everything's fine. We're good. This 1184 can sit for a bit, and it's really not a problem to use it later, you know? Okay. Put this on here. It'd be nice if I have a die that just doesn't matter. It's fine. All right. Hopefully this doesn't pull out. Okay. Here's our sleeve. Using a large sleeve in this case, and we have our handle. And per usual, the bench is completely clogged right when I'm doing this, so I'm going to do this mid-air. Back a few turns. Let's see if I can go just a little further. Just going to stop the crank like that. Yeah, it goes on a few more turns. That's fine. That was fine. Okay. Washer, nut. And start cranking. You could actually use the impact to do this. I'm not going to do that, but you probably could. Most important, you need to get the positioning pins in the right position. Handles down over there and start cranking. That's good. That's good. Your position pins are good. There's no... I've had other stuff get in the way, like an oil, you know, the oil line or whatever. That gets frustrating. Craig, when you had that 031 AV show up, did you tell him to go away? So that's tight. Undo that. Supposed to tell those to go away. Cat still rules. No, I think sanity rules. But if you need the money, $15 people watching a crankcase install. Okay, so your crankcase is together. But what you have to do now is put the screws in. Let's get rid of a few things here, and then we'll put the case assembly bolts in. Go. Let's find our case bolts. I don't know where they went. Well, let's find them. The case bolts for a 372 have a very specific look. They have a point on the end of them, or at least most of them. For some dumb reason, I don't have them. Maybe they made it on a specific. Where'd I put them? I have more. That's not a problem. Be nice to figure out where I dumped them, that's all. Because they are here. Oh, they're right here. Ah. Clean it off a little bit. A little bit of Loctite. Can you say something about the tool? More or less, I invented it. So, what do you want to know? If you'd like to buy it, then all you have to do is email me, and I can put my email here. I took designs from, well, other designs, but I made effectively a system of crank tools that do most of the relevant chainsaws. And I have a form letter that I can send you if you want to email me. So yeah, these are like a little more than an inch long, and they have this point. I think these are 35 millimeter. 5 of them. Yes, Fuller Box, welcome. I haven't seen you around, so welcome to the channel. And Ken is bad at jokes. But unfortunately, he's here all night. That's pretty bad, Ken. Then we have one that's about an inch long. I think this is probably 30 millimeter. This goes right here. 30 or 35, I forget. So yeah, Fuller Box, let me know what you want to know. You're welcome to ask questions. It's kind of the idea of being live here, you know. You're welcome to ask any questions you like. We're going to go diagonally here. Is it off your common? Well, I think it's common in Connecticut. My dad seems to think you usually get a bumper crop one every 5 here in Connecticut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the front one. 6. Calibrated torque right here. Okay. While we have it situated here, let's work on... Yeah, the Rainiers are the best. I really think the Rainiers are the best, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that there's not a whole lot of point in me planting anything else. Where'd my piece of Coke can go? Guess I'll have to make new. Can the tool be... No. The way the mechanical advantage works on the tool, you cannot use it to separate. So if you look at the video that I did on how to take... on actually taking this saw apart, what I used was a Husqvarna style clamp, C-clamp style splitter. Which is this, which I actually do recommend. This actually is a Chinese version of it, but the original threaded part bent. So I retapped this. This is just a piece of 5/8 threaded rod, and and that's not going to bend. So yeah, assembly only. And it only puts the only design. It is only for putting the crank through the bearings. The best way to describe it, it's either pulling the crank through the bearing or pushing the bearing onto the crank, however you look at it. But the way to use it in all of these saws is to position the bearings first in the case halves and then pull the crank through just like I did. And now you have it. It's completely safe for the bearings. You can do everything at room temperature. There's no lateral pressure on the bearings. It's completely controlled, and it's also one-handed, so you can have a hand free to control the connecting rod so it doesn't get in your way. There's all kinds of advantages to it. The main kit that I sell, it's not the complete kit, but the main kit that I sell is $170 shipped. And it'll do most of the relevant saws. There's a few weird ones out there that it won't do that I have basically figured out a way around. But it depends on, depends on what saws you're doing. If you want to rebuild 660s, 372s, 394s, 288s, old 262s, old 26s. Farmertech. No, I'll say Farmertech, whatever. But either way, Farmertech is, it's all Chinese stuff. I mean, Puzzle, Farmertech, whatever you want to call it. So I get a piece of Coke can. we're going to do the Coke can trick on a seal, okay? And here is the flywheel side seal. Now, you don't necessarily need to do the Coke can trick on the flywheel side seal, but I do anyway. I think this Coke can is a little too... You want to burnish these sides over so it's not sharp. This is too much for this seal, so let's... I'll show you what I'm doing here in just a second. Husqvarna, yeah. Huzzle, Holzforma, all that stuff. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Some of it's fine, some of it's not. This crankcase, I think, is fine as long as you do these little modifications to it, and then you're not spending a gazillion dollars. Oh, 023s, 230s. You probably, with those are clamshell, right? So you don't necessarily need to pull case halves together on the 230. Is that similar to a 250? Okay. So the Coke can goes inside the seal. Sealant, I like to use Loctite 518 for this. Yeah, so in general, you could use it for that, but you don't necessarily need the toolkit for the 230s. The 260, yes, or 026s. Yeah, because those are case halves, and that certainly you can do. This is just a piece of copper pipe. And what I do is I seat these basically at the base of the angle here. There's a little bit of a lip, an angle, a 45 there, and I seat the metal part right at the base of that. But the reason the Coke can makes a difference is because the Coke can helps guide the rubber over any lip that might be there on the crank. If you have a lip on the crank, then it's possible that you can invert the seal. If you or prolapse the seal. If you prolapse the seal, just pull it out, nice and gentle. If you prolapse the seal, if you pucker it, then there's a tiny little circular spring in there, and that thing just pops out, and you never know until you do a vacuum test or the saw eats itself. And on here, as long as you're over the lip, it's fine. That's good. Perfect. Now this side is at least a little bit different because this seal is different, and because there's a bushing involved. There's no need for the Coke can here. But what you might want to do ahead of time equal opportunity hater. Good. A little bit of grease on here. There's a tiny little O-ring that's supposed to. These are goes right over, and the bushing meet. And Nikki, I had the 28. I still have. Do I still have the 28? I think I sold it to one of my tree guys. They're okay for doing this and that. I don't know about long term for long term collecting. I've switched over to the Sugiharas. I have almost exclusively now Sugiharas. Good. So now I can take this and bash this down. I'm going to put this down so it's level. That's all. And it's going to be level with the crankcase. Just a piece of aluminum tube. This is actually one of my blanks. And it's got to go down even. There we go. Now what I'll do, I'll get a deep socket that's a little bit bigger, and it won't allow me to over push this. I have that right now. I'll just do this by hand with an Allen. I'm just going to go around the side here. You can hear the sound difference. That's all even there. Okay. Close enough. Now what you do is take and make sure that O-ring is sitting down pretty good. And now we're going to get the bushing. That goes there. That's right here, actually. And the sealing surface on this bushing is right here. So as long as that's smooth, you're going to be fine. Nope. There. See it? I'm going to throw that out. So much for that. Okay, now I gotta go find a new bushing. Fantastic. It's just a little notch. So, so I need to go get a new bushing. I'm pretty sure I have one out in the shed. I'll be back. Got it, and I happen to have an OEM one. Okay, this is a part you can, brand new, out of the package. OEM. This is a part you can kind of slather with grease. Then you got to use the Coke can trick again, but it's trickier to use the Coke can trick here. Where did my Coke can go? Actually, here's one. Oh, oh, there it is. Okay, so matter. Okay, this one, what you do is you actually put this kind of down in here first. You want it to seat down in, and then you put your bushing on here. Then what you want to actually do is get something to push your bushing down. This is not quite big enough. It's already shaped right. Yeah, okay. So the Coke can sits all the way down, as far down as you. And what you're trying to do, you're trying to get the rubber expanded all the way around in a circular fashion. I know, everybody's like, just push it on. No, 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 no. Careful. Almost. There, poof. Just goes in, pop, that's it. And then you remove, very carefully, your Coke can, preferably without really bushing. And now you haven't puckered anything. Ta-da! That bushing stays in there. That little O-ring seals against the bearing, the crank, and the bushing at the same time, and the bushing seals against the rubber, and the rubber is attached to the metal, and the metal attaches to the crankcase. So, yeah. There you go. Before I get the head, probably not. I can keep assembling things and put the tank on and all that other jazz, but I need to get the head next, which I don't have, but I will have. Do not forget the little O-ring. Yep. I had made plenty of 372s without that dang thing. Also, don't forget the washer that goes over the bushing, but we can work on that later. Actually, you know what? Let's take this back here. Alright, so I have one other thing to do today, which is mess around with my 660 a little bit. Right, I know, Fuller Box, are you still here? Let me put my email in here. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't do that. Get rid of the extra ampersands, and you can email me. Remember, the O in Matty 05 is a letter, not a number. It's Matty 05 for Olson. Okay, there's my email address. Shoot me an email, and I can send you the form letter on the tools. And if need be, we can chat more on that, okay? 660. Okay. Let's do a little bit of cleanup, and then I'll work on the 660, I think. You're welcome. I've sold, I think, almost 250 kits so far. All over the world. Australia, Finland, New Zealand. All over the place. Talked to all kinds of people. Super fun. Met all kinds of people. Talked to all kinds of people. Been quite an interesting project. It took me a long time to get it right, too. There was plenty of work involved. Oh, let's see here. You got it building an 880? Okay. Bearings with heat. If you're trying to put the bearing in the crankcase with heat, the crankcase is so huge that it just sucks all the heat right out of your torch. So I haven't done one, but that's what I've heard. So do look out for that. I do have an 880 sleeve that you will need on top of the main kit to do an 880. So it would be 170 for the main kit, and then an 880 sleeve. So that's another 30 bucks. That's 200 bucks shipped to the lower 48. Okay, 660. What do we got? An annoyance. That hole. It's an annoyance. That's all that it is. I don't know if you can see it. Can you guys even see it? This is a 660. This is my Chinese 660, which has an awful lot of all kinds of goodies in it. No, it's not a Husky. And actually, I use this thing quite a bit, and kind of the reasoning behind it, I think, to justify it to myself, is that I don't feel bad about it. You know, if something gets messed up, I don't feel that bad about it. A lot of blue Loctite on that. Looks pretty solid. Do a little bolt check here and there. Make sure nothing is coming undone. That's the main part. You know, this saw seems to work okay. You know. Whoops. Don't see anything too different here on the internals. So obviously I'll keep this as a spare, but might as well throw the blue Loctite back on because that obviously worked. One, two, three, 4 bolts. So I'm just putting on this new starter cover. This is nothing exciting here. I have a brand new carburetor for it though. So let's do that next. It really has okay power for, you know, for what it is. It doesn't have as good a power as other. Oops, that's not good. It doesn't have as good a power as other ones do. As other 660 clones. So I'm a little suspicious that something's off somewhere. You know, and it might be the carburetor. It certainly was on a 372 that I have. It was the carburetor. The one that is actually down in Oklahoma. And here's the long one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, not a big deal. We'll play with the carburetor. Go away, James. We don't want any. Whatever you're selling. We don't want it. Right, guys? So let's see if I can remember all the stuff I did to this. So this is the 660 kit that comes off of Huzzle. And I got it a while ago. I have a Meteor top end that I ended up doing some porting on. It's the Meteor or Mastermind top end, whatever it is. The Masterminded top end. Uh-oh, battery power low. Gone. Yeah, Jay, I tried one of the 2511s, and it's pretty fun little thing, you know. Pretty fun. regular extension, so here's my super long one. Whatever. Okay. 8mm. Pull these off. Let's see. So I have the masterminded top end, cross top, whatever it cross top end on this, which has been ported. I used the piston that came, and the piston and rings that came with it. I did not convert to a Meteor piston, although I certainly could. It's a Husky decompression valve, which are indeed better than the steel ones. Why is it tank vent? That tank vent's all blue. I wonder. The tank vent is all from the fuel. I wonder. Does this just come straight up? Yeah, it does. I think I have more. Let's see if I can change that out. Oh, I gotta buy a few more. I only got 3 left. Same one. There's a little duckbill inside here, and you can suck through it, but you can't push through it. It just sits right there. Okay. That's easy. Let's pop this out. Let's pop the fuel line off and down. Sometimes fuel comes spurting out of there, other times not. The impulse line mainly holds it in, and let's do the throttle here. Just put the throttle full and then pull the line back here. Come off there. So there's my carburetor. I do have OEM plastics on here. This is OEM, and the trigger is OEM. And the OEM plastics do tend to work better. This is a Tillotson carburetor. Made in Ireland. Obviously this rubber piece needs to get transferred over. Just looking at them, whatever, you know. Fuel line back on. The impulse line, good. Just get it started. The throttle. By hand, bring it to full throttle, and then with the tool, bring the throttle wire up and in. Again. You're not going. Hang on. There. Okay. All the way in on the impulse line. That's good. That works. Let's put this back. A little bit of the dust off here. Nice to have compressed air. You just you're done, but I don't have that on right now. So whatever. Tuck this in. Two screws, two nuts rather. Sorry, I don't have the phone over here. I gotta look at comments here in a second. Sorry, guys. So yeah, this thing's had a lot done to it. I did the full wrap. Did an OEM AV mount over here because the aftermarket ones definitely go too fast. What else have I done? I mean, there's OEM wrist pin and pin bearing. Those are important. I definitely like to have OEM parts there. And actually, I usually recommend that as like a first upgrade. As to do a wrist pin and pin bearing right off the bat, because I just don't trust the Chinese ones. The other off the bat upgrade I recommend is, you know, when you're throwing these together, I love to get those highway seal kits. This is the one for the 372, but they make them for a 660 also. So when you're putting the kit together, just get a highway kit. They're better. If you don't want to go full OEM, just get the highway kit. Best brand for pocket logging cells, Echo ACS 800, 5-year home warranty, 900 US. Maybe. Yes, it's a Husky scabbard. Hybrid showed up. Great. think he broke the dental tool on a patient, a vid. No, the dental tool it got clogged. For some reason, the line got clogged, and then I broke the tool, but it wasn't on a patient. I was trying to fix it here, not at the office. You guys got to be careful what stories you start. Okay. Okay, you want me to start it up? I forget if I needed a new clutch. I might have needed a new clutch. So I got that. An extra Husky decomp, which I'm just going to sit over here because I tend to use them. Just about everything. I forget what else did I pull. No. That was it. If the 8 is, ignore that. Yeah. Right, great. No getting me in trouble, guys. Yeah, they had these scabbards at HL Supply on sale for pretty cheap, so. Yes, I broke the tool, but I haven't used it on a patient. You guys are killing me. Do I have any gas? I've got gas, but not much. I didn't even check to see how many turns out the carburetor was. Hang on. There's hardly any gas in this thing. No pull on. I know, James left, huh? Just so everybody here knows, I talk to him all the time. Like pretty much every day. I didn't even fill it up with gas. It's just got more gas in it now. Got the dual port muffler on this thing. She runs. Alright, that's enough smoking up the basement. Oh, right, I gotta check on the clutch. You know, I forget whether it was this saw or another one that I need to work on the clutch. So often the drums that come with the kits are just no good. Sometimes the clutches aren't the best either. I forget. Yeah, dirty is one way to put it. Do I need to change out the clutch? No, I don't. I guess I could. What's wrong with putting a new clutch in and leaving this as a spare? Nothing, obviously. Do. Grease. The drum's got to catch the oiler wherever that thing is. It's over there. There we go. Nope. Wish there was a better way to do this. Now I greased it up, can't grab it. Kids are home, oh yeah. Get a flashlight. There, that'll do it. Don't forget the rim.
I assume you're gonna order pizza.
I've not ordered yet, no. If you'd like to order, then I'll go pick up. I'm about done down here. There we go. Crud here in the bar oil thing. You know, I'm actually going to leave the bar off until I actually need this thing. I don't know how well the starter's going to hold up, but we'll play with it, you know. James, are you being menopausal? What's going on? All right, battery critically low. Great. I think that's gonna do it for me right now. That's about all I have for you guys anyway. Been wanting to change out the starter on this thing for a while. Now I'm kind of curious to see how this new carburetor works. If I get any more power out of the thing. Like I said, it's good. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with the other carburetor, but it just doesn't quite have the oomph that the other modified 660s have. So yeah, so hopefully the carburetor does it. And that's about that for now. So I'm going to sign off and say thank you to everybody hanging out and watching. If anybody's interested in tools, I'll put my email here again. If anybody's interested in tools, they can contact me. My email address is here, and just get rid of the extra ampersands. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Do appreciate it. I'm still waiting on e-replacement parts for the 288 stuff. And right now I'm waiting for the 372. Should be good as long as I get that head trued up. That went out in the mail today. So I don't know when we're going to be doing more stuff, but I don't know. Maybe end of next week. Maybe I'll fiddle around with that gas tank one of these days for the 372. I don't know. We'll play. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. More? No, I'm out, Leonard. I've tapped for the night. I gotta go have pizza with my kids. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Be safe, okay?